Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our webinar and today's fireside chat, Discover Before You Automate. I'm the moderator, Chris Duddridge. I'm the VP of Sales at Soroco. And before we get started, I've got a few tips to help everyone on the webinar enhance their experience. The administrator has muted all participants, but we want to hear from you. So please post your messages, questions in the chat window, and we'll try and address them during today's event. The event is being recorded. You can watch this presentation again or share it with other colleagues, as well as find more insights on demand at soroco.com. Well, clearly we've got a lot to cover with this topic. So without further ado, I'd love to welcome my co-speaker, an automation, AI and innovation expert and pioneer, MIT Tech panelist, Forbes Tech Council member, Olivier Gomez, famously known as OG, founder and CEO of Intelligent Automation Corporation. Good afternoon, Olivier.
Good afternoon, good morning to everyone. Hi, Chris. I'm really glad to be there. This is a very exciting topic and very important topic, so this is going to be a good conversation.
Fantastic. Well, it's a pleasure to have you here. But I thought we've got limited time, so let's get started. And first of all, I think the first question I'd like to kick off with is that the primary reason the IAC came into existence was to provide expert automation opportunity assessment and help organizations deliver on immediate value through the delivery of RPA and other adjacent technologies. Could you describe to me how the demand from clients has evolved and changed, and where you see clients are still struggling in their assessment of what opportunities to pursue when it comes to the aforementioned subjects?
Yeah, very, very good question. So let me maybe start very quickly by setting the scene here around what I see out there on the market, what clients are typically expecting, right? So first of all, we are in a very complex ecosystem of tools and technologies. It is extremely difficult for clients to know what to use, and their goal is very simple. They do want to achieve results. They want business impact and they want outcome. That's why they look at those technologies. So in the past, what we've seen was, okay, this is a new technology. I'm talking about intelligent automation, the whole ecosystem, RPA and all the technology, as you mentioned, right? Initially, they wanted to test the technology. It was very simple. They were trying to build the trust around the tool, trying to assess, whether this is going to make a difference or not. And then they started to realize that it works. The trust was built, and they wanted to scale. They were starting to look at, trying to achieve some return on investment on this technology. They were trying to basically accelerate the process and improve the time to value. So scale was a big thing. Lately, what we see happening, obviously scale is still a requirement, is that there is a need for a more, what I would call end-to-end understanding of what we are doing, a more comprehensive approach to doing automation. So clients are starting to ask, obviously, that we do automate their process, but what they don't want is that we do it in a distributed, inconsistent way. They don't want to end up with scattered bots all over the place. They want to have a single end-to-end view of their environment, and they want to be able to address top-down instead of bottom-up the opportunity that they have in front of them. This is really, really important to understand, because once you have the full picture of your environment, it's a lot easier to correctly execute on your automation program.
Fantastic. And by that virtue, are you seeing the demand for other technologies to help them uncover this big opportunity that sits beyond them? Is that something that your customers are now speaking to you on a frequent basis about?
Yes. So this is something that I see and I keep sharing quite often, right? So automating a process is not just about building a bot, okay? Building a bot is what everyone has been talking about. There's now a lot of technologies available and very large community of developers, builders that are capable of building bots. Building bot is just, I would say, the the middle part of the process, right? There's obviously something happening downstream that we are not going to talk about today, but that is important, which is running the bot, maintaining the bot. We call that automation ops. And there's something happening upstream, which is understanding what to automate. If you are going to build a bot, you better know where and which bot you want to automate, which process you want to automate, sorry, and which bot you want to build. And now the market is starting to understand that what we call discovery is at least as important as the build phase. Okay, and this is really really important for client to understand. It's not just about building a bot; it's about understanding, doing proper discovery, building correctly, and then running correctly. If you don't do those 3 steps, most likely your automation initiative that is now becoming a core component of your company strategy is going to fail, or at least is going to suffer. And a lot of people are starting to look at the discovery phase and start to understand that this is a strategic investment that they need to do, and it's a strategic activity that needs to happen if they correctly want to build a pipeline of opportunities.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. And I just maybe would extend that with your experience. You know, a lot of people who set out on and have done for the past few years in sort of the space of intelligent automation have sort of set out with a very clear strategy, but often have fallen foul of tackling low-hanging fruit. And obviously the last couple of years from the pandemic has really changed, you know, a myriad of different things that have, I think, driven a lot of bottoms up pressure on how to serve customers better, how to enrich employees' lives better in the tasks, the menial tasks that they undertake. I'm just interested in your perspective on, you know, from an employee, citizen developer, bottoms up approach. You know, discovery tools and discovery in general is best placed with these subject matter experts, and often these subject matter experts lock down an unbelievable level of knowledge of how the businesses operate. So I'm just interested from a discovery perspective, how much you're seeing from a bottoms-up push versus top-down strategy still remaining as the main pillar of how people approach intelligent automation.
Yes, so I would say both are extremely important. The nature of what you are able to do bottom up is very different from what you are able to do top down, right? So typically the knowledge sits on the floor. Top down, you can set some direction, you can define a framework, you can build governance, you can really, you know, steer the company in a certain direction, but the actual knowledge sits on the floor with the expert. Actually, you know, most of the time, not everything is documented correctly. I mean, especially in large organization, not everything is documented correctly, or when it is evolving quite rapidly, and maintaining all your documentation up to date is a huge challenge. It's a huge manual effort. It is extremely difficult to do it all the way down to the level of, let's say, a cookbook, for example. It is doable to do it at a level of a high level process, so you can maintain your ISO certification and all these kind of things. But understanding on the floor what people are doing in details, being able to really gather this you know, expertise in an efficient and effective way is absolutely critical. So there's multiple ways to do that, right? You can obviously motivate people to contribute and to take the knowledge they have in their brain and, you know, push it up. Or nowadays, and I think this is the topic here, is, you know, there's other ways to gather this information more effectively, more accurately, and more consistently.
Yeah, I mean, it goes without saying, you know, our passion project at Soroco is finding ways of tapping into that employee knowledge and the undertaking of unstructured tasks, which often, I think you described previously, as often being prescribed to the business as the happy path, but yet more illuminating when you understand actually what is happening in the business. And that's very much our focus with the use of the work graph, to get to that level of detail. And yeah, I'd love to hear more thoughts on that at some point. But I think you raised probably a more pressing point in your previous answer, which used the governance word. And I think governance is evolving quite a lot around the deployment of intelligent automation and discovery technologies in this space. But I'd just love to hear you describe some of the pitfalls you've seen from centers of excellence, intelligent automation teams not having the right governance or structure in place. And I suppose I'm particularly interested into the issues that then occur in managing, assessing, capturing, quantifying their pipelines effectively. So I wonder if you could speak to that for a moment.
Yes. So this is there's a lot of good, bad, and ugly story around that, I would say. And since we've been doing as a community, I would say the market has been doing automation for quite a while now. I think we have gathered a number of things that you absolutely don't want to do, right? Before I go into those pitfalls, I think it is really important that I try to stick a little bit on the criticality of approaching the discovery the right way. Okay, and then once this is clear, because this is really, really important, then we can understand all the mistake that can happen downstream when we are not doing that, right? So if we go back to basic, an organization is about people, it's about process, and it's about tool. Okay, so this has been around forever. The need to understand people, process, and tool in order to correctly automate is absolutely critical. The problem, as I quickly touched, is that when you have a large organization, the devil is in the details, and the variation that we see for a given job role or a given process or a given way of using a tool across, let's say, multiple business unit or multiple location or multiple entities of a company is sometimes extremely huge. Okay, as I mentioned, understanding how we do the work is not simple. Understanding, or having an up-to-date version of a given cookbook, how we go do this, whether it's a task or whether it's an end-to-end process, is not simple. And nowadays, we have more and more situation where the data that we use on a daily basis is not even structured. So obviously, if you are using, a ticketing system where the data is 100% structured, it's quite easy, or it's easier to trace down manually and understand what people are doing. When you are receiving emails in multiple languages, and you have to understand, the work that is being requested, the work that is being done, how we react, what task, what activity do we do against those requests. It is extremely difficult, especially when we have scale, when we have a large operation. So for me, all the problems that are happening downstream with a COE or with lack of governance is very often triggered by this initial step, which is I don't correctly understand my operation in the details. I don't have a up-to-date version of my standard or my blueprints, and I am struggling to maintain it when I build it. So it's a one-time effort, and then 6 months later, it's not even accurate anymore because it's not an ongoing activity that I am doing, because it takes time, it takes effort, it's freezing resources, and this is extremely critical. If you don't do that right, you are kind of blind. I mean, you see at a higher level of the organization, when you drill down into what's happening on the floor, you are kind of blind. So this is really important. I wanted to highlight that, because not able to understand, not able to keep a consistent and an accurate and up-to-date view of what the people are doing is going to be a showstopper to correctly run and to correctly identify the opportunity within your automation program, right? And actually, I have to stop saying automation program, because in my mind, automation is not a project. It doesn't have a beginning and an end. It is actually an ongoing activity. It's more like an operation, right? So this is really important to understand, right? It is not a project you do and you're done. It is a new way of working. It's a new way of operating. It's what we call digital workforce, and it has to be handled with this continuous improvement mindset, with this, ongoing type of approach, right? So I wanted to do this to really, highlight the fact that this is absolutely critical, and that's why people nowadays are starting to realize, if I don't see, if I don't understand, if I'm not able to build a accurate blueprint of, what I'm doing on the floor, I'm gonna be stuck. Okay, I pause there, and now I will try to address your question. So
I think before you do, though, that you made a really, really good point, and I think there's a recognition that needs to be sort of understood in the market, which is, everyone started off when automation was relatively new, although there's been some pioneers for a decade, still with the massive wave in the last couple of years, propelled by unprecedented working situations and the pressure of the pandemic. Some people are still thinking of the COE as a hub to centrally kind of deliver on all of these benefits. And I think you raise a great point about thinking of this as the digital workforce, but actually having a much broader automation operating model, or even operations model, that mirrors to what goals people need to set out and achieve. And that's also, I think, missing. There's often a lack of understanding of what's the goal, the end goal of delivering this transformation. Is it providing more capacity, giving hours back to the business, reducing risk and increasing compliance, driving, digital transformation at an accelerated pace? And for me, the big thing that I hate to see, but can be opportune for a discovery company such as Soroco, is that people have run out of pipeline and run out of ideas within those teams that's driving them to use a discovery tool as a kind of a pipeline generation exercise, which is great, and it can deliver that, and it can deliver it really fast. But not having that governance model, thinking about the operational outcomes you're looking for me is the miss, because you'll just be finding pipeline and still have to go through the same discovery exercises, the verification of whether it delivers a return on investment or not, and may find out you've just found another 20 candidates that may not deliver a positive ROI. I'll just also say that, one of the biggest things that we see, especially for organizations that might be in that stuck state, is actually that a lot of what they detect within their business using discovery tools, or even manual discovery with management consulting, is actually a user training or an employee knowledge gap that actually might not require any transformation whatsoever, just might require better human empowerment. And that also brings on the big topic of human in the loop and subject matter experts. We could go on for days. But I think your point around really thinking about the automation operating module, the model, the digital workforce that contributes towards leveraging and delivering some of those outcomes, has to be goal focused, and that's a big gap, I still think, in the less mature COEs. So, but I thought your point was fantastic, Olivier.
Yes, and building bots for the sake of building bots, people know that that doesn't work, right? So back to the point, right? So if I try to stay really focused, right? So we need to see. If we are blind, there's nothing we can do. Once we see and we understand what we do, who we are, then we can use this opportunity to basically build a pipeline. First of all, when we do discovery, not everything we discover is going to be something that will end up as a bot, or will end up as an automation solution, right? The beauty here is that, and you touched on that, we are discovering multiple aspects, multiple type of opportunities. Not everything is going to be solved by building a bot, right? So this is really important, right? We know the basic rules. If it can be removed, it should be removed. It should not be automated, right? If it can be improved or optimized, it should be optimized. Probably automation is at the end of the opportunity pipeline. Once you've done all your, why am I doing this in the first place? Or can I lean that? Or can I do it, in a slightly different way? Then you end up automating, right? It's really important. Let's not always jump to, I got to build bot for the sake of building bot. No, let's understand, this is really important. In the pipeline that we are discovering, not everything needs to be handled with a bot, right? That's really important. Now, if it's an opportunity for automation, whether you have decided to structure yourself with a COE. What is a COE? A central place where you have all the expertise, all the excellence, basically a team of people that are here to handle the creation, the development, the deployment, and unfortunately the support of those bots, right? So that's a team. Or whether you have decided to go with a more distributed approach where you empower more and more teams. The point being here is the quality of the pipeline is absolutely critical for the success of automation. So first pitfall, typical mistake we've seen everywhere. The pipeline is dry after a while, because as you said, we jump on the obvious, the easy, or we jumped on the more vocal people because, for whatever reason, and then we set up, we put people, we put technology. So we buy technology, or nowadays you can have a different model where you don't have to acquire licenses, but still, people and licensing sitting on the bench is the worst case scenario for your automation team, whether it's central, whether it's distributed, right? It's something that you want to avoid. And we've seen that so often, right? The dry pipeline disease, or whatever you want to call it, right? This is happening a lot. What is also happening a lot is you do have a pipeline, but the quality of this pipeline is really bad, meaning we just feed stuff in the pipeline not to have people on the bench and licenses on the shelf, but the actual impact for the business, the actual outcome for the business, and the overall return on investment, return on effort for those opportunity is very often below expectation. So this is, the most common issue, right? The key here is, again, not to consider that this is a project, but to understand that when you are setting up a COE, when you are setting up a distributed model, it is an operation. Automation is something that is ongoing. When you are tackling and automating a mundane task, and you are redeploying people to do something else, that has to keep going. The automation has to, stay there. The environment is evolving. The pipeline needs to be filled with new opportunity, or with revised, improved opportunity of existing ones. And the point here is keeping your pipeline full with high quality opportunity is an absolute must. And very, very often we see that. Why do we see that? We see that because, again, when you do the work manually, and you do the work manually correctly, you do a huge effort to build a pipeline, 6 months work, and then you consider your job done, and then you go do something else. That's not how it works. Ongoing is really, really the key. It's a continuous improvement model that you have to put in place. It's a wheel. The funnel has to be fed by a wheel that is always going to be there forever. It's a new way of working. It's a new operating model. It is not just a project. I create a pipeline and I'm done, right? This is really, really important. Second, even when you do that, if you don't have a data-driven approach, and if you are not able to collect all the data, structured data, unstructured data, and to really understand the meaning of this data, so that you can have high quality, highly consistent pipeline, so you really understand where the opportunity is, then you are also going to fail, So again, my point here is this is probably the biggest issue that we see, right? Another type of issue we see when we have an automation operation, let's call it like that, COE or distributed, is that we are also lacking, I would say, a governance around how we build the bot. Let's assume we have pipeline that is good enough. The quality is there. The return on investment on those opportunity is there. We've been using a discovery tool, hopefully, that is doing most of the work. We have validated, the outcome of the discovery tool. It is becoming a high quality pipeline of opportunity for the automation team to build. It is also extremely important that when we build bot, we build them, following some standards, because you can end up doing duplicate work, inconsistent work. You can end up not really leveraging all the work that the team is doing. And I think that this is also something that I see a lot happening. And very often when you do that wrong, you're going to have some issue downstream with the supportability of what you build, right? So everything we can do to help the builders build the right bot and build the bot correctly, following the right standard, this is going to ensure, a successful bot in production. This is going to ensure correct uptime, and this is going to ensure overall return on investment for the initiative.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with all of those points. But one of the ones which I'd love you to expand on, maybe as the last question in the interest of time, is when we think about the potential to use task mining tools or any mining tools, information mining tools, can you explain to me how that's now in practice helping business leaders and COE generate the quality of pipeline that they are looking for and reduce that time to value? That would be probably where I'd love to finish today's conversation.
Yes. So time to value is key, right? As I said, before we were able to do that somehow manually, but about 50% of the time and effort and money had to be put on the discovery side. So it's a 6 months project. You have 3 months of discovery. And again, the quality was not there. Nowadays, the beauty when we have a tool that is able to understand the environment, to capture the activity, to build a blueprint of a process, to build a blueprint of a task, is that we end up clearly understanding what the work is on the floor. We clearly understand the variation of this work. We clearly understand what is the best model to go after to automate, right? So if I build a bot, what is a bot? It's a flow of activity. If I select the wrong flow of activity, I'm gonna build a bot, but it's the wrong one. Here, when we do task mining, we clearly understand the happy path. From the beginning of the activity till the end of the activity, we know that there's someone somewhere that is doing this activity smarter, better than the other one, because we see it. We have 100 variations of the same activity. We see which one is the best. We use this one as the best in class, as the happy path, and we build a bot that is totally going to follow that. So not only we are able to reduce the time to value, because we can quickly and on an ongoing way understand what to automate, how, and basically it's at your fingertip. It's always up to date in the tool, but also that what you are building as a flow is the most efficient flow, not just for the human, but also for the bot.
Absolutely. That's really helpful. Thanks for the perspectives. And I think just looking at the time, OG, I mean, half an hour can barely do these subjects justice, but we could potentially create another couple of follow-ons off the back of just this session today. But I just wanted to say a big thank you for sharing your views and perspectives. I think the partnership between IAC is one we really value, and grateful to share the stage with you today. How can people get in contact with you, Olivier, if they wanted to?
Yes. So again, what we typically advise our clients when they are of a certain size is not to try to do things manually. A tool like your tool, a discovery tool that is able to do process and task mining, is an absolute must to understand, to see, and to focus correctly on the best opportunity and the highest return investment possible for your activity. if you are interested and if you want to consider implementing a discovery solution, a discovery tool that is really going to help you boost your outcome and reduce your time to value, you can reach out to us. Well, we are available, iac.ai. You can reach out to us on LinkedIn. You can drop me a mail, olivier@iac.ai, and I will definitely, help you there. The key point here is really to understand that this is going to help you achieve more outcome. That's really the point here, right? The size of the outcome is going to be way bigger once you see and once you understand the end-to-end opportunity you have in front of you.
Fabulous. OG, as always, an absolute pleasure. For anyone who wants to get in contact with us, it's soroco.com. We've got a lot of resources there that will showcase to you task discovery and the way in which we approach helping clients with the use of the work graph. But thanks everyone for joining us today. If you have any questions, please follow up with us. This will be reshared for further consumption and forwarding should you want to. But thanks for taking the time to spend it with us, and have a great day. Thank you. Thanks, OG.
Thank you. And remember, discover before you automate. Really important.
Absolutely.
Thank you.